Okay, we're moving into a very important menu item that most people eat every day, and it is number 3 on the food items that you need to remove from your diets. And this is part of my 7 foods to remove quickly to see any success in this carnivore journey. Now, I want to ask you a question, and I want you to really think about the answer. What if the food that is making you sick is the same food that your doctor told you was heart healthy? What if the thing sitting on your kitchen counter right now, the whole wheat breads, the oats, the brown rice, what if that is the thing feeding the inflammation that is tearing your body apart? Now, I know that sounds extreme, and I know it goes against everything that you've ever been told, but here is the fact that stopped me cold when I first heard about this. 2 slices of bread is going to raise your blood sugar higher than 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm not talking about white bread, guys. I'm talking about whole wheat bread. The bread with the heart healthy halo, the one that your doctor is recommending, the one on the food base of the pyramid that we work with. It raises your blood sugar higher than sugar. Now, when I learned that, I started to pull back the thread. And what I found underneath it changed how I understood the last 15 years of my own health declining had gone. That is what this video is about today. Now, before we go any further, guys, remember the links to my free guide is in the description, and your support means the world to me. So please hit the subscribe button for the next series of our videos. Quick PSA, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a regular guy who is sick of being sick, and I fixed it with the proper human diet. Everything I share today is for information and education purposes only, and if you're going to make a change to your diet, please consult your doctor. Okay, let's build this case together. Now, I want to say something before we get into the science of this. When I was growing up, I remember my grandmother and my aunts making 30 to 40 loaves of fresh bread every single weekend. I'm in a large East Coast family, and everyone was helping to provide bread for all those families and all my cousins. It was an absolute fantastic weekend every Saturday and Sunday, and it's a memory that I will never forget. And I'm not here to take away that memory from you. What I'm here to do is to show you what is happening inside your body after that bread hits your bloodstream, because the smell is real, guys. The comfort is real, and that memory is real, but so is the inflammation. I was born in the 60s. I've been inflamed now for, 54 years. The damage is real. And once you understand what is actually happening, you can make the proper decision. The choice is yours. Is the bread worth it? And that's all that I'm asking for today. Let's just look at the evidence. So let me start with the science, because I want you to understand exactly why this is happening before we go on any further. So wheat contains a specific type of starch that breaks down incredibly fast when it hits your saliva and your stomach. It is one of the most rapidly digestible starches in the entire food supply. That means that when you eat something made from wheat, it converts to blood sugar very quickly and very efficiently, faster than table sugar ever could. 2 slices of whole wheat bread will raise your blood sugar more than 2 tablespoons of regular white refined sugar. There is no difference between whole wheat and white flour from a blood sugar standpoint. Now, think about dinner. Your blood sugar is spiking 3 times a day, every day, from food that you were told was healthy. Every spike is triggering an insulin response. Every insulin response, repeated year over year, is moving you closer to insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is the gateway to type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, weight gain that you can't seem to lose, an inflammation that never turns off. I had all of those things for years, and I was eating whole grains at every single meal. There is something happening in your gut when you eat wheat that researchers are now only just starting to fully understand. And it explains a whole category of symptoms that have nothing to do with your stomach. Joint pain, skin conditions, brain fog, autoimmune disease, all of it connects back to your gut. Listen, here's how it's happening. So your intestinal lining is essentially one thick cell. That lining is the barrier between the contents of your digestive system and your bloodstream. When it is intact and healthy, nutrients can get through and everything else stays out. The cells in that lining are held together tightly, almost like the grout lines on your bathroom floor. When the grout is solid, the water stays out. Everything is sealed. Now imagine something came along and started dissolving the grout, some sort of an acid or something like that. Gaps are going to start to open up between the tiles. Things start getting through that should never be getting through. That is what research is now showing to be called leaky gut. And that is what wheat and gluten can do to your intestinal lining. Now, I want to tell you about a researcher named Dr. Alessio Fasano. He is the director of the Center for Celiac Research at Massachusetts General Hospital, which is a Harvard teaching hospital. And he spent years studying what happens to your gut when you eat wheat and gluten. And in 2000, he discovered something that nobody had identified before. He found that when gluten hits your digestive system, your body releases a protein that literally opens up the gaps between the cells in your gut lining. Think of it like this. Your gut lining is made up of cells that are supposed to be locked together, tightly together. Guys, tight, no gaps. Nothing can get through that should not get through. But when you eat gluten, your body releases this protein that acts like a key. It will unlock those tight connections and it will create some gaps. And once those gaps open up, things that should stay inside your gut start leaking into your bloodstream. Digested food, bacteria, toxins, all the stuff that we're eating is leaking. Your immune system sees all of that leaking through and it thinks that you're under attack. So what does it do? It launches a full immune response. Okay, I want to stop here and talk about something personal because listen, I had psoriasis. And for anybody who's never had psoriasis, what it is, it's a chronic skin condition. And your immune system attacks its own skin cells. You get red, scaly, painful patches that show up on your elbows and your knees and up in your scalp, all over. Mine was mainly on my legs. And I also had psoriatic arthritis. And that is the same immune process, but now it's attacking the joints. I had both of those. And I was told by every doctor that I had gone to see, dermatologists, that these were just chronic conditions and I would have to manage them for the rest of my life with medications. What nobody told me was that the research is now showing psoriasis patients are more than twice as likely as the general population to be diagnosed with celiac disease. And celiac disease patients are at an increased risk of psoriasis. Nobody told me that research is showing the triggering factors for psoriasis is chronic inflammation throughout my body. Nobody connected the skin to my gut. Nobody connected the gut to the bread that I was eating at every single meal. When I went carnivore and the wheat came off my plate completely, my psoriasis started to clear up within weeks. My joint pain from the psoriatic arthritis began to dial back, not because I took a stronger medication, because I stopped feeding the fire. The gut started to heal, the inflammation started coming down, and the symptoms on the outside of my body started responding to what I changed on the inside. I'm not telling you that wheat is going to be causing your psoriasis. I'm not a doctor. I cannot make that claim. What I am telling you is what happened to me and what the research is increasingly suggesting about the actual gut and the inflammation. So please just draw your own conclusions here, guys, on what is actually happening inside when you do eat this stuff. Now, I want to add one more layer to this because it really does matter. Because some people hear the word wheat and they think that we're all talking about the same grains that our ancestors have eaten for thousands of years. But listen, we're not talking about the same grains. This is not the same wheat that your grandmother used to bake her bread. Modern wheat has been scientifically engineered over the last 50 years to grow faster, survive harsher conditions, and produce a much higher yield. That's the bottom line. And in the process, gluten content has gone up significantly compared to any wheat that we ate in human history. And then there is what they spray on it, guys. Glyphosate use on wheat has skyrocketed 400% in the past 2 decades. Farmers discovered they could use this herbicide as a drying agent, particularly in regions with short growing seasons. They spray it directly on the wheat just before they harvest to speed up the drying process. So glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup. It is sprayed directly on the wheat that you're eating. And glyphosate disrupts beneficial gut bacteria and damages the intestinal wall. So to be completely clear about what modern wheat actually is, it has been engineered to contain more gluten than at any point in human history. It's treated with a chemical that damages your gut bacteria and your gut lining, and it breaks down into blood sugar faster than any table sugar you could eat. Now, the smell of that fresh baked bread is one of the greatest comfort smells that I'll ever have. I remember it dearly. Even walking by bakeries today, and I still believe that. Brings me right back to those days. Here is the practical part that catches most people off guard. People just think about just cutting out breads and pastas, but that's the obvious stuff. Here's what they actually are missing. Soy sauce. Most brands are going to contain wheat. Check all the labels, guys. Deli meats. Many contain wheat-based fillers and binders. Read the ingredients on those. Soups and gravies that are thickened with wheat starch. Most condiments, including some ketchups, barbecue sauce, beer, fermented grain, every single one of them. Many medications are coated with gluten. Restaurant food, even dishes with no obvious grain can be cross-contaminated through shared fryers or shared surfaces or even utensils. And one that trips people up the most is the gluten-free processed foods. When food manufacturers remove gluten from a product, they replace it with something. Usually it's a tapioca starch or a rice flour, potato starch, or cornstarch. And these are not health foods. They spike your blood sugar just as fast, sometimes faster. So going grain-free is not the same as going from wheat crackers to gluten-free crackers. Going grain-free means getting off processed grain-based products entirely. Okay, let's talk about what you can actually do with all of this. Think of this the same way you would think about doing, say, a DIY project at home. Before you start a renovation, you do not just start ripping into walls randomly. You make a plan. You figure out what is structural in the home and what needs to come out. Then you can execute. There is no difference here, especially with removing sugars and carbs. Step 1, commit to a real elimination window, not a reduction and elimination. 30 days, guys, minimum. 90 days to really see what your body can do here. Think of it like stripping a project back to the studs. You cannot build something solid on a damaged foundation, and you're damaged. You have to clear it out first and see what you're actually working with. Healing is going to take time. Just like any repair that you're going to do at your home, you will not see or feel any benefit in a week. But most people notice something meaningful, guys. Within the first 2 to 4 weeks, you're going to start to see something happening. You're going to see the bloating is going to drop. Your gut discomfort that you have just accepted as normal is going to start to disappear. Your energy is going to start to go up because you are not riding the blood sugar roller coaster 3 times a day. And for people with skin conditions like I had or joint pain, give it that full 90 days before you judge those results. That is how long it took my psoriasis and joint pain to significantly resolve. Okay, step 2, you need to learn where this stuff is hiding. Now use the list in this video, the soy sauce, the deli meats, the condiments, medications, the restaurant cross-contamination. Read every label like you would read a spec sheet before you commit to a build at home. You know exactly what you're working with before it goes into your cart. You need to know these things. Step 3. Replace with food your body was built for. You are not going to starve yourself here. You're just going to upgrade. So use beef instead of the pasta. Just remove the pasta and the sauce. Eat the beef. Complete protein, iron, zinc, vitamin B12, everything that your body needs. Eggs instead of cereal. One of the most complete foods on earth. Butter instead of the bread. No inflammatory response. Bacon instead of toast. Protein and fat that keeps you full for hours without any blood spike, sugar spike. You will not miss the grains once your body stops being chemically dependent on the blood sugar cycle that you've created. Now, before I close today, I want to come back to something that I say in every single video in this series. And I say it because I mean it. Doing this alone is not easy. This is a hard process. Not because the food is complicated. The food is actually quite simple. It is hard because of this way of eating. It goes against everything. Every mainstream nutrition has told people, explaining to your doctor why you stopped eating the whole grains, because they want you to eat it, all the fibers. It will help enormously to have a community of people around you that have walked the same road. This is why I keep pointing people back towards the Steak and Butter Gang. Connection below. Daily connection calls. Weekly calls with doctors who understand this research. real coaching support when you hit a wall. The link is there. Jump on that, guys, and have a look. You do not have to figure this out alone, and you will move so much faster with people around you who get what you're trying to do. Okay, let's summarize this just for a minute. So today we looked at the blood sugar truth. 2 slices of whole wheat bread is going to spike your blood sugar higher than table sugar, and the science explains to you why that's happening. We looked at what gluten does to your gut lining and why that matters for conditions far beyond your stomach. We looked at the psoriasis and the autoimmune connection that researchers are now increasingly documenting. We looked at how modern wheat is fundamentally different from anything that humans ate before the 60s. And we looked at where grains are hiding in the food and what you need to replace it with. I spent 15 years with a body that kept breaking down. And look, I was always looking in the wrong places, and I never ever got the answers, because you know what? The smell of that fresh baked bread was still one of the most important comforts and memories that I had. So I kept eating it. But I know now what comes after that smell, and the knowledge gave me my health back. The answer was not a better medication. The answer was on my plate. It was the food that I was eating. So if this video opened your eyes just a little bit today, share it with one person who needs to hear it. Leave me a comment below. Have you ever noticed a connection between the bread that you're eating and how your body feels the next day? I want to hear about this stuff. Let's have a conversation. If you've not grabbed my guide, my free guide, it's going to be in the description also. It's called The 7 Foods That Are Breaking Your Body, and wheat and grains are number 3 on the list. And I will see you guys in the next one. And until then, you need to trust the process, trust your body, and trust the one who made it. Remember, guys, fix your food and fix your life.